Okay, guys, where we left off on Friday was this problem here. Now, I had you go on and try to work through it. Hopefully, you got the correct answer of 3, 7. But if you didn't, we're going to work this through. And it's normal if you are having difficulty with this here. We've only done one of these, so we're going to do another one here. Now, what we're using is the formula x1 plus x2 over 2, comma, y1 plus y2 over 2. We're using this here to find the other endpoint. Now, they gave us the midpoint, and they gave us an endpoint. Now, the 2 and 4 are going to come from this formula here. That's where we get them. Because when I plug in the x values into this here, I plug the two x values of the endpoints, not the midpoint, the endpoints, it will give me the midpoint. So when I plug my values into this here, when I plug in my x1 plus x2 value, I should get the x value of the midpoint, which is 2. Now, I know one of the x values, it was told to me over here. It was told to me that it was 1. Now, I don't know what the other x value is, but I'm just going to call it x. And I will use this to solve for the other value. Now, again, the first thing we're going to do in solving for this here is to multiply both sides by 2. We're going to multiply both of these sides by 2. And when I multiply both of these sides by 2, the 2 and 2 here will cancel, leaving me with x plus 1 is equal to 4. Now, all I have to do is get x by itself, and to get x by itself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. And when I subtract 1 from both sides, I get x is equal to 3. That's our 3. That's where we got 3 from as one of the endpoints. Now we're going to do the exact same thing for y. So our y value formula is y1 plus y2 over 2 gives me the midpoint. When I had the two endpoints, I would plug their y values in and get the midpoint. Well, it was already told me the midpoint for the y value is 4. Now, it told me one of the y values already. I'm going to erase both of those. It told me one of the y values of the endpoint was 1. I don't know what the other one is. So I'm going to say 1 plus y divided by 2 is equal to 4. Now we're going to do the same thing we just did for x, and we're going to multiply both sides by 2. We're going to multiply both of these sides by 2. Now the 2 and 2 here cancel. That's the reason we're multiplying by 2. Leaving me with 1 plus y is equal to 8. Now the last thing I need to do is to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, which tells me y is equal to 7. So with these two here, I get the other endpoint, which is 3, 7. And that's where we got our answer from. That's where we got that answer. And that's all we need to do for this one here. So let's look at one more of these here. So we're given the midpoint and an endpoint. So we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to use the formulas. The fact that x1 plus x2 over 2 gives us the x value of the midpoint, and y1 plus y2 over 2 gives us the y value of the midpoint. Now, the x value of the midpoint was told to us is -1. The y value of the midpoint was told to us is -2. Now we just need to find out what the other endpoint is. Erase both of these here. Now, they told us one of the x values was 4. They didn't tell us what the other one was. They told us one of the y values here is 4, but they didn't tell us the other one. So we're trying to find the other endpoint, the coordinates of v. So we have x plus 4 over 2 gave us -1. Y plus 4 over 2 gave us -2. So we're going to solve for x, and then we'll solve for y. Now, the first step in solving for the x value of the midpoint is we're going to multiply both sides by 2. The reason we do this is this 2 and this 2 here cancel out. They simplify out, which leaves us with x plus 4 is equal to -2. Well, x plus 4, we have that here. -1 times 2 is -2. Now, the last thing we need to do is we need to get x by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, because 4 minus 4 is 0, giving me x. -2 minus 4 is -6. There's the x value of one of the endpoints, or the endpoint we're trying to find. Now we're going to do the exact same thing over here with y. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, because this 2 here and this 2 here cancel, leaving me with y plus 4 is equal to, well, -2 times 2 is -4. And the last thing we need to do is get y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. And when I subtract 4 from both sides, I'm left with y is equal to, well, these cancel. -4 minus 4 is -8. So the other endpoint is -6, comma, -8. And that's all we have to do here. That's all we have to do for these here. Now you'll get some more examples with it with the homework, but that is all we have to do to find the other endpoint. It is a little bit harder than finding the midpoint, but not too much. We have to do a few more steps. Now the last thing we're going to cover is distance formula, the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Now, when we plug these in, we just got to make sure that the two numbers that go together here are both x, and the two numbers that are going to here are both y. We got to just make sure they are the same. So here, your school is 4 miles east and 1 mile south of your apartment. A recycling center where you take your class, is going on a field trip is 2 miles east and 3 miles north of your apartment. Estimate the distance between the recycling center and your school. So I went on and set this up here. Now we're talking about our apartment, wherever we're living, wherever he's living, as the origin. It's at 0, 0. So as I said, your school is 4 miles east and 1 mile south. So north, going up this direction, west, south, east. 4 miles east and 1 mile south is our point here. This is where the school is at, 4, -1. Now, a recycling center where your class is going on a field trip is 2 miles east and 4 miles north of your apartment. 2 miles east, 4 miles north. That's how we got these points here. Now what we want to do is we want to find the distance between them. Now the distance formula, D, is equal to the square root x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Now we have to plug it in. So what are our x values? Well, our x values are 2 and 4. So we can do 2 minus 4 squared plus, now our y values, 3 and -1. 3 minus -1 squared. Now if you did it the other way around and you did 4 minus 2 or -1 minus 3, that's fine. You're going to get the same answer. Now at this point here, if you want to, you can plug this entire thing into the calculator. Let me highlight and tell you what I mean. I mean this whole thing here. If you want to plug this entire thing right here into the calculator, go on and do it. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to go on and do it by hand. 2 minus 4 is -2 squared. Plus a negative and negative make a positive. So 3 plus 1 is 4. Extend the page. So -2 squared is 4. 4 squared is 16. And 4 plus 16 gives us 20, the square root of 20. And that's our answer. Now we could simplify it, and the yellow calculator will simplify it to 2 square root of 5. Either one of these here is the correct answer. They both give us the same thing. And that's all we have to do for this problem here. That is finding the distance. So for any 2 points, we just got to find the distance between them. Okay. Let me move this over here. Okay. Now, say we wanted to find the distance between 7, 9, and 8, 12. Now, I know you've probably at this point you're saying, Mr. McClendon, we've already done finding the distance formula. Okay, I know you've done the distance formula. We're just going to do one more, then we'll call it good. So this here, when we find the distance formula, we're just plugging in our x2 minus x1, our 2x values, and our 2y values. Right here, we're plugging these in. So we plug these in. So our x value is 7, and our other x value is 8 squared. Then we'll plug the other one in, 12 minus 9 squared. Now all we have to do is plug this into the calculator, and we are done. So for this here, 7 minus 8 is going to be -1 squared. 12 minus 9 is 3 squared. Now at this point here, we can do -1 squared, which will give us 1, 3 squared, which will give us 9, and 1 plus 9 is 10, the square root of 10. And that's all we have to do for this one here. That's all we have to do to find this value, to find the number we want here. And that's it. I'm going to do one more because I want to do one more problem just because. So we want to find the distance between 2, 4, and 20 and 24. So to do the distance here, we take the distance formula, which is our x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So our x values for this here are 2 and 20, so we can do 20 minus 2 squared plus, our x values are 4 and 24, so we can do 24 minus 4 squared. 2 minus 20 squared is 18 squared. 24 minus 4 is 20 squared. Now 18 squared and 20 squared, that's a little bit out of my range. I don't know those by heart. I just haven't taken the time to memorize. Well, 18 I haven't memorized. 20 I have. 18 squared is 324. Now 20 squared is 400. So we add these two together, we get 724. And if we take the square root of 724, we get 2 square root of 181. And that's it. That is our answer there. And that's all we're going to do here. So at this point now, go on and take your, so the homework assignment is in Big Idea Math. And because today is a virtual day, you need to go on and take your one question quiz. All right, guys, have a good one.